Alright, morning run video. So anyway, Antique Lens did a pretty good video. Actually a very good video. She has a very pleasant voice, speaking voice. And, you know, she did the voiceover over some images and talked about marketing and what women kind of, bend their life around in terms of what becomes their expectations, what they're fishing for, what kind of, I don't know, how they bait their life. So anyway, it sort of plays into a few videos by Conference Report that, I haven't thought much of actually, where he kind of says or implies that, when we look at some environment, there's some beautiful landscape. This is not necessarily a beautiful one, but it's pleasant enough. This is some sort of primordial crapola, that it's beauty, or this sense of whatever we feel that feels like beauty or pleasantness or whatever. That there's some sort of common response, and it's on a box of chocolates because it's the right thing, or it's something native to humans, rather than just because it's the popular norm that's been established and people have been conditioned by it throughout the years. So I would sort of argue for this argument that it's all pretty much subjective, conditioned mush, and that there's some other better, more basic description of what we're after. The needs are more base, and the components. There's components in a scape, in a view, that attract our eye, that create this perception of beauty. And it's about those components existing, not so much some overall thing as it is specific bits or qualified descriptors of that scene. Anyway, so I guess I would say to the Antique Lens thing that some of this stuff that happens with people in striving to meet expectations is just sort of the nature of the beast. We're going to want, we're competitive, and we want to be on the winning team, on the winning side. We don't want to be a loser or a bum or a failure. That's just our nature. And there is a reality in the world that, women and relationships and desirability and all that stuff. So if that's what they're after, they sort of have to play the game. And it's a superficial and, disappointingly so, game. I could argue from the opposite point of view that, men have the same crap imposed on them. It's about how much money's in your pocket and how a lot of other things that'll dictate how attractive you are. And none of these definitions are very good, and maybe it's best to help people understand that there's all kinds of diversity in terms of what people want. And that it's kind of silly to get too obsessed about trying to conform to one definition, because you'll likely turn off as many people as you turn on. But then, this idea too that every time you're hungry for a good reason, or because your body needs something or wants something. Let's get real. That a lot of this becomes a supplement. It becomes a supplement, or however you want to put it. We get compulsive about certain behavior because our life isn't complete or full enough, and so our brain creates a psychology where we become compulsive about some other thing to fill in the gaps, so to speak. And you can work both ways. I guess that's all I'm saying is, it can be unhealthy to do whatever your body is saying to you sometimes, because sometimes it's saying weigh 800 pounds, and that's not a good thing for it to say. But anyway, back to Conference Report and beauty. So I did write down some concepts I guess are worth arguing through. Just about out of time here though. But I'll start off with, there are some common things, images of certain, eyes and kitties. There's certain things that somehow attract us. Well, I'm going to cut this off and I'll catch you on the way back. Just a little bit of a scenic view up here on the hill. Pooped. Yeah, that was nice. Nice little run. Anyway, alright. What I was thinking about this beauty thing is that it's more about contrast and something unusual. It's like unusual symmetry might be a way of looking at it. I think the brain likes when it sees something that makes sense, but it also likes to pay attention to things that are unusual, as they might represent or mean something. And so when there's a combination of symmetry and unusual, it triggers this response. And also some of it's conditioning. And for me, I think of it as sexual. I mean, to me, the most beautiful things sort of usually have something feminine in them. I mean, a naked woman's quite a spectacle. Anyway, so anyway, I think that's more the constituent, is that there's these basic triggers are more basic than some idea of this is generically to all humans a nice pastoral scene. Obviously humans can live in deserts or even the ocean. I think that's a good example. And I guess this will point out my argument about the contrast thing. So it seems we're visually attracted to power. We love that it stimulates us and we get that perception. I mean, the ocean's a beautiful thing. Even a sunset when it's full of red and is, got a swirl and some violence in the colors, even though it might be peaceful, it's that contrast that heightens our interest. So it's sort of a love-hate thing, peace, power. How else do I put it? Fog, contrast. Let's see. Yeah, and then what the eye is looking for is the outstanding, the perfect, and the absolutely imperfect. It's seeing the extremes. It's finding the extremes to be attractive, the bizarre and the perfect. Perfect by some subjective definition, of course, that is not completely, but it will be substantially dictated by what kind of candy you eat as a kid and what they painted on the box. You might get stuck with a Rockwell image in your head, and then beauty to you is a porch with some old fart rocking in a chair smoking a pipe. So if you grew up on some other image, you might have a different definition. The range of definition will be different, let's put it that way. You might still share some common core pieces. There's some butterflies. There's, by some definition, beautiful. Chasing it. Yeah, I could chase it for a long time. They're getting drink in the puddle. Anyway, so it's more, it's not more complicated, but it is more cultural and conditioned than I think you're talking about with this idea of a primordial, I want to live there thing. I mean, if you go to Yellowstone Park, there's lots of beautiful scenics, cliffs, sulfur pits, mineral springs. They're beautiful things, very inviting to the eye, but you really wouldn't want to live there. You're not going to live too long. And, like sulfur pits, for example, beautiful, but, I mean, the smell will kill you. So, I just don't buy this argument that we're walking around with some sort of programming in our head that says, oh, this looks like a good place to live. I don't think that's really going on. I think the keys are much more have to do with just being alert, being looking, seeking, which sort of gets back to antique lens. What are we seeking? And we're seeking food, which is often colorful. For primates anyway, we're looking for little bits of color, fruit, and such. And then there's the sex thing, of course, which creates its own definitions of beauty. And what else is there? But I think it's more about that stuff than it is about, oh, here's a nice pasture you know, to build your little house in the prairie on or something. So anyway, enough of video. Sorry, a lot of breath in this one. But stuff happens, as they say. A little humid today. Rained yesterday. So anyway, till the next time.